So we're going through what I consider a structural change. So an LLM is an acronym for a large language model. And the most important part is, let's call it language. But if I went back in time and said, the internet was a method to centralize and then decentralize a whole bunch of communication so that I could send an email digitally instead of writing a letter and putting it in the post and then having someone physically transport it to the other side. So it became an electronic delivery mechanism. With an LLM is another structural change, which, let's call it, is similar to the internet. And so you can choose one or multiple providers, and you can provide it with, you have now the capability of logical reasoning. And so if you provide it with enough information, it's been trained on an incredible amount of information, so think of it as the base layer. And that'd be exactly the same if you want to think about it from an entrepreneur's perspective, as starting a brand new business and bringing in a whole bunch of people and saying, I hope I've hired really well. You're the marketer, you're the salesperson, you're the product person, and I expect you to have a certain amount of skills, and I expect you to logically reason and put information, especially if you're a knowledge worker, into these fields. Or have a conversation with someone if you're a salesperson in person or on a web conference. All of those types of processes and activities are being reimagined, not just by Decidr, but by everybody. And I can't imagine anybody that is going to want to have a retail experience that doesn't include things like a high AI name, of which I know, because the customer-facing AI is going to probably be the same name, similar to everybody in the world who has an iPhone has Siri. You're going to go to a particular retailer, Sephora, and it's going to have that particular AI. And it's not an AI in the same way that you think of a real person. It's an AI that you know you've had many conversations with, or it's your first conversation. There's a way to identify yourself so that it knows who you are. And do you really want to go through carts and checkouts, or do you really just want to say, sure, show me all the cool stuff, what matches to me? Oh yeah, you're right, no, that is something that I would consider. Or, no, that was a good suggestion, but actually this is the reason why I don't like that. And all of those answers to questions are filling in a higher order profile, and that higher order profile is making sure that those recommendations and new products are constantly coming to you. And then you just use natural language. Can you just buy that for me? Just send it to home. And of course, there's an initial training piece, but the initial training piece will be fun. It'll be like, hey, where do you live? And what's the sort of delivery method you prefer? And let's add a few credit cards so that we can just easily check you out in the future.
A good example, is that an app on your phone that you're feeding information? It's asking you questions? Is that the...
It's ubiquitous, and that's why I don't think the device is going to matter as much as people think. Sometimes you don't really want to put in a password or an email address, you just want someone to see your face. Exactly the same as you'd expect from a bank teller who sees you every day, or a coffee provider. That's your ID. And you'll expect it to know who you are. You'll be really annoyed, actually, if it doesn't recognize your face at some point. So I think that's kind of like a solved problem, and that's the way it'll be. Once it has that, it'll then be able to, let's say, be the best customer service, the best sales, and the best is literally working out what type of person you are, how you like to be spoken to, how much interest you have in the category, and it'll align itself to that. And so if it should be talking to you every day because you just love the product, that would be possible.